Tits and his cabal of beta males cheat. They cheat on everything. They never want to win on their own merit. And so Taco Tits has this huge bench that he can lean into to pluck a beta male to do diabolical shit against our democracy. So he immediately calls Governor Abbott of Texas, who is a complete sycophant, beta male, hypocrite Christian of the highest order, because he wants 5 new seats to keep the House, because he knows if the Dems get the House, there will be impeachment. And this president has committed so many crimes, you guys. There's so much lying. There's so much cheating. There's so much stealing. There's so much bullshit that this guy's doing. And so, of course, he calls Abbott and Paxton of Texas. And the Dems leave. They flee the state. They go to Illinois, because this is serious. This is very, very serious. We can talk about his crazy tweets. We can talk about all the bullshit that he does. This is completely trying to subvert democracy. Put up this tweet. Governor Abbott tweets that he directed the Texas Rangers to investigate fleeing House Democrats for potential violations of Texas law. Any Democrat who solicited or accepted funds to break quorum may have violated bribery laws. Texas Rangers must quickly send any findings to the appropriate prosecutors. So you guys, this is when shit's really getting real. These Democrats understand that they had to flee the state to fight for democracy. This is war. This isn't as juicy as all of the other scandals, but this is where the nut cutting is right now, that we get to 2026 and we get the House of Representatives.
It's stunning to me that in the United States, it's become a banana republic.
Yeah.
We redistrict you so you can't vote me out because I'm a corrupt piece of shit, and we're going to arrest you. Unfortunately for Abbott, there is no law that they are breaking. So now he's going with bribery, accepting money. I mean, Greg Abbott has done nothing but bend the knee to corruption since the day he entered the governor's mansion, and now he's doing it here. Good for these Texas senators. They have morals and they have ethics. Good for them.
Okay, so you have some Democratic governors who are fighting back and fighting back boldly against this. I'm talking about Newsom, Hochul, and Pritzker. Put up this tweet from Gavin Newsom. Newsom sends a tweet to Ken Paxton at Ken Paxton, Texas, was impeached for handing out favors to donors, faced a federal investigation for bribery, had to do community service and paid restitution. If he wants to talk about who he thinks is, quote, above the law, he should look in the mirror. So these guys, these MAGA Republicans, I want to remind everyone, Donald Trump has always been corrupt. He's always been a cheater. He's cheated on taxes. He's cheated on wives. He's cheated on everything that he can get his hands on. And then a lot of these other politicians have moved because they're so beta. They have no personal identity. They move to what they think the MAGA base will like. But Paxton and Abbott are total pieces of shit. And Trump has given them the permission structure to come out. And what they're saying with this bribery stuff is a play out of the MAGA playbook and the Republican playbook that they do. Protesters are getting paid by Soros. Right. They think that these Democrats, they always tell their base, well, they're not doing this because they think it's right. They're doing this because they're getting paid, because they can't understand conviction. It's such a tell when you really, really think psychologically about the claims that Paxton and Newsom are making. They can't understand somebody fighting for democracy because it's the right thing to do, because it's what the Constitution says to do. It's what we're all supposed to believe. So that stuff, that bribery, they're getting paid to do it. All the protesters are getting paid. That resonates with the MAGA base because there's such moral rot within all of them that they think, yeah, nobody would do the right thing unless they're getting paid for it, because their default setting is to always cheat, to always lie, to always steal. And they're just in this constant victimhood space. But here's another governor that we got to give props to. Kathy Hochul, play the video.
Brave public servants are taking a stand, a strong stand, against a blatant power grab that's happening in their state as we speak. And this will have implications, not just in Texas, but for our entire nation and its future. And I have news flash for Republicans in Texas. This is no longer the Wild West. We're not going to tolerate our democracy being stolen in a modern-day stagecoach hoist by a bunch of law-breaking cowboys. Americans don't want a system that's stacked against them. They believe in fairness. It's fundamental. Rigging the system is un-American. But here they are, flagrantly breaking the rules so they can hold on to power. With that power, they're going to inflict even more pain. But here in New York, we will not stand on the sidelines with the timid souls who don't care, will not invest their heart and soul into this battle. And that's why the gloves are off, and I say, bring it on.
I love her. You know, here's the thing. The Democrats have typically to this point been tepid. They've been integrity politics. These MAGA Republicans are fuck you. We're going to break the law. No corruption is too big. There is nothing we won't do to stay into power. And Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton are a microcosm on a big stage of Donald Trump and Stephen Miller. And so good for these Democratic governors saying, we're going to fight fire with fire. We are no longer going to sit and watch you tear away the pillars of democracy.
And you know, Pumps, I think that that is exactly the problem why we find ourselves in the position that we're in. You spoke about integrity politics, and I would even take it a branch of that and say assumption politics. A lot of us voters and a lot of Americans assume that Trump wouldn't have gotten reelected because that's crazy. We see how crazy he is. We saw January 6th. So we assume that the American public is going to do the right thing. We assume that we're going to make it to the midterms. We assume that democracy is going to hold. And we've got to get rid of that assumption that we voters believe that goodness will always prevail. And I think that that is a byproduct of living in a safe superpower for so long. We just assume that everything's going to stay together. Well, the dam is broken, and we have to have this kind of language. And if they're going to try to get 5 seats, we're going to say, fuck you. We're going to gerrymander the shit out of every blue state imaginable. And we're going to send people into those 5 seats in Texas. We're going to raise money and we're going to go to bat and we're going to get it to the midterms and we're going to get a blue tsunami and we're going to impeach McCankle's taco tits from here to high heaven and finally get him in front of jurors and hold this man accountable, because what this man has gotten away with and the millions of people who are complicit with this is just staggering, and it's debilitating to think about at times. You and I both, we go to lunch every day, listener, viewer. Sometimes we're just like, after doing these news shows, Pumps and I are just like, oh my God. And then we realize we have agency. We can control the news that we read. We can ensure that we are reading facts, and we have to understand our fellow citizens that we don't really like very much right now. What are they seeing? How are they getting so radicalized? How are they getting so indoctrinated? Pumps and I swear to you guys, I swear by this app. It's called Ground News. It is a game changer. It helps us prepare for this every morning because you have to understand the other side to understand how to message properly. So here's 2 headlines that we use to prep for this episode. The first one is New York governor vows retaliation after Texas GOP's redistricting move. This is from CNN. It reports to me that it leans left. It tells me who owns it. And then we have an article from Breitbart, which leans right, and it says mixed factuality in this article. And their headline is Democratic New York Governor Kathy Hochul vows war over GOP redistricting in Texas. So listener, join us by going to groundnews.com/IHIP, and you can get 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan that Pumps and I use every single day. They're subscriber funded and female founded. That's our favorite part. By subscribing, you're not only getting a tool we all need today, you're also supporting our work here at IHIP News. That's ground, GROUND news.com/IHIP. We've pinned it below in the show notes. Let's play a clip of J.B. Pritzker. He is not having it either. Play the clip.
Attempting to cheat. And, I think we all know Donald Trump is a cheater.
Yeah. Right.
So is the Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton, in so many ways.
All right, that's so important. It is so important that Democrats get dirty and call out the lying, hypocrite, cheater, sanctimonious, hypocritical, Bible thumper, white supremacist piece of shit, Ken Paxton. And I want to put this up. His wife, Senator Angela Paxton, she tweeted a couple weeks ago, today, after 38 years of marriage, I filed for divorce on biblical grounds. Gag me, gag. Okay, so she goes on and on about God and the purpose, and that she's getting a biblical divorce, whatever the fuck that is. And a gay person in Texas tweets back to her the following: as a gay Texan who has been on the receiving end of the Paxton's holier than thou politics, I gotta say, watching them fall apart under, quote, biblical grounds is peak Bible Belt drama. They weaponized faith against us for years. Now it's all tears, scripture, and divorce. And this is, you guys, coming from the Bible Belt, this is the shit they do. They tell everybody how to live their life, who you can screw. They want to be the thought police. They want to tell you if you can have an opinion about Israel, Palestine, if you can have an opinion about taco tits, if you can have an opinion about January 6th, how patriotic you got to be. They're control freaks of the highest order, and they're breathtaking hypocrites. So it's important when these Democratic governors message this stuff that they get their hands dirty and they call out Paxton for being the lying, cheating foot soldier of Satan that he is. I don't believe in any of that shit, but that's the kind of stuff that if I were a politician, I'd be saying Moses Mike is a foot soldier for Satan, because that's the shit that these people, like, that's their language. That's how they feel about things. All right, that's all we have for today. We are super close to 1 million. Pumps and I are so excited. We are dying to get a trophy. And so as soon as we get the 1 million, Pumps, I think we go live.
100%.
Unless it's during our bedtime.
Well, right. If it's after 7 p.m., no. But otherwise, yes.
All right. Subscribe, buy our book. Life is a Lazy Susan of Shit Sandwiches. Pumps has it here. Vanna White. There she is. Much prettier, much more politically sound. Our head beaver in charge. She is so cute. Green glasses, green shirt. All right. We'll see you all later.